I've got this. No, this is fine. We'll use this. Yes, please. It's on the tab next to the StreamYard tab. It's on the tab next to the StreamYard. Yeah, so on the screen it should be there, the right one next to it. Yes, that blue one. Shishi Korantai Mayapur Sashiki. So, reading from Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, the abridged version, he built a house in which the whole world can live. So, this is chapter 2, Planting the Seed. At 26 2nd Avenue, there were actually two storefronts. The one to the north was a coin laundry, and the one to the south had been a gift shop but was now vacant. Both had narrow entrances, large display windows, and dull paint. Beneath the matchless gifts sign was a window, 6 feet square, that a few weeks before had displayed matchboxes decorated with photos of movie stars of the 30s and 40s. Shishikorantai Mayapur Sashiki. The sign Matchless Gifts was the only remaining memento of the nostalgic gift shop that had recently moved out. Below the shop's window, a pair of iron doors in the sidewalk hid stone steps to the cellar and boiler room. The white sidewalk had been laid down in sections of various shapes and sizes at different times in years past. Certain sections had cracked or caved in, and a fine dust with tiny sparkling shards of glass had collected in the cracks and depressions. A dull black fire hydrant stood on the curb. Midway between the entrances to the two storefronts was the main entrance to number 26. This door opened into a foyer lined with mailboxes and intercoms, and then a locked door opened into a hallway leading to the stairs or back to the courtyard. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. So, reading from Granth-raj Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, Chapter 2, and Text 18. Ajnanad अथवा ज्ञानात् अज्ञानाद् अथवा ज्ञानात् उत्तमश्लोक नाम यत् उत्तमश्लोक नाम यत् संकीर्तितम् अघं पुंसो संकीर्तितम् अघं पुंसो दहेद एधो यथा नल दहेदेदो यथा नल अज्ञानादथवा ज्ञानाद् उत्तमश्लोक नाम यत् संकीर्तितम् अघं पुंसो दहेदेदो यथा नल अज्ञानादथवा ज्ञानाद् उत्तमश्लोक नाम यत् संकीर्तितम् अघं पुंसो दहेदेदो यथा नल अज्ञानादथवा ज्ञानाद् उत्तमश्लोक नाम यत् संकीर्तितम् अघं पुंसो दहेदेदो यथा नल अज्ञानादथवा ज्ञानाद् उत्तमश्लोक नाम यत् संकीर्तितम् अघं पुंसो दहेदेदो यथा नल वैष्णवीज अज्ञानादथवा ज्ञानाद् उत्तमश्लोक नाम यत् संकीर्तितम् अघं पुंसो दहेदेदो यथा नल अज्ञानादथवा ज्ञानात् उत्तमश्लोक नाम यत् संकीर्तितम् अघं पुंसो दहेदेदो यथा नल अज्ञानात् out of ignorance अथवा or ज्ञानात् with knowledge Uttama Shloka of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nama, the holy name. Yat, that which. Sankirtitam, chanted. Agham, sin. Pumsa, of a person. The head burns to ashes. Edha, dry grass. Yatha, just as. Anala, fire. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As a fire burns dry grass to ashes, so the holy name of the Lord, whether chanted knowingly or unknowingly, burns to ashes without fail all the reactions of one's sinful activities. Responsively, please. As a fire burns dry grass to ashes, so the holy name of the Lord, whether chanted knowingly or unknowingly, burns to ashes without fail all the reactions of one's sinful activities. Purport. Fire will act regardless of whether handled by an innocent child or by someone well aware of its power. For example, if a field of straw or dry grass is set afire, either by an elderly man who knows the power of fire or by a child who does not, the grass will be burned to ashes. Similarly, one may or may not know the power of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. But if one chants the holy name, he will become free from all sinful reactions. वैराग्य विद्या निज भक्ति योग शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुष पुराण श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य शरीर धारी कृपां बुद्धिज्य तमहं प्रपद्ये मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारणम्। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So we continue our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, a Jamil delivered by the Vishnu Dutas. So here most of the talking is being done now by the Vishnu Dutas and the glories of the holy name. Obviously, when devotees speak, they bring out the glories of the holy name, which is hidden unaware to the general masses of people. And first they tested the Yamdutas and they checked, okay, come speak. What have you got to say, huh? And speak. And then once they listen, okay, enough now. Now hear the glories of the holy name. So this is where, like, to the limit, to the extent, to the height, to the length, to the breadth, say, the knowledge of a materialist goes. It has its limitations. It has its limitation, and will stop there. But when devotees or Srimad Bhagavatam glorifies the holy name, glorifies Krishna, it actually, they say, like, where someone's material knowledge or material science ends as such, understanding ends, that is where, like, then spirituality actually begins from that place itself. So it's no comparison as such to mundane academic material knowledge versus the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. And beautiful verses now in here glorifying the holy name of the Lord. So as we a little bit discussed previously as well, doesn't matter whether a child, young boy, young girl, whosoever, or an elderly person, someone who touches fire, irrespective of age, irrespective of place, irrespective of time, irrespective of circumstance, anything, fire will burn. That's the nature of fire, to burn. If someone touches naked electricity, doesn't matter if one has paid the bill or not paid the electricity bill. The current, one will catch, one will get the shock. So this is the beauty of the holy name of Krishna. Agyanat athava gyanat. Either in knowledge or out of ignorance, doesn't matter, the holy name does its job. So this is why we look for an opportunity, we look for things or events in our life wherein, okay, there is no discrimination. Where can we find a job? Where can we find a shelter, a place to live in a city and all, where actually there is not like a discrimination. We find it peace, at ease very much. So devotees, when they go out actually distributing the holy names, Harinam doing, it is open for everyone, and everyone should partake in it, take part in it, and like essentially various meanings of Hare Krishna, and devotees to their practice, acharyas, they reveal the inner and inner meanings of Hare Krishna. Essentially, Hare Krishna means like to invoke the hidden dormant love within all of us, to invoke that love. And when one starts chanting Hare Krishna, one certainly finds lots and lots of peace. One certainly finds lots and lots of stability or calmness. And further on, one will find love within oneself, and love for Krishna will awaken. So there is no prerequisite, as in one has to get some knowledge, one has to be knowledgeable or something, to come and then chant Hare Krishna. No. Whatever knowledge, rather when one chants Hare Krishna, one becomes knowledgeable. Then all the good etiquettes, all the good behavior, all the good qualities will come about. All the saintly qualities everything will come about. Purity will come about. Whatever austerity is required will come about. We all are driven by motivation. We all are driven by we need some inspiration. And we all are wanting that little bit of taste, actually, taste of joy, taste of success. So when we chant Hare Krishna, when we, in the assembly of devotees, when we study Srimad Bhagavatam, giving a bit of a time, then we can have that initial taste of success. We can have that initial taste of nectar, of joy, bliss. And that is more than enough for us to get that motivation, to get that enthusiasm, inspiration to continue further. And naturally, we would then want to imbibe all saintly good qualities in our life. Be it gradually, but yes, we would want to imbibe all saintly and, and qualities within ourselves. And thing is, hearing, Uttama Shloka Namayat. So hearing the glories of Krishna, that is the only way out, that is the solution. Only then we will find saturation, because our eternal bond is with Krishna. Our eternal connection is with Krishna only. We belong to Krishna. Our source is from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So until and unless we hear about Him, things wouldn't work out. Naturally, if someone is working for a company, then he works for the employer. He doesn't work for someone else. In family as well, one earns money to support one's say partner, family, look after the house, kids if any, and like that. Doesn't do it for neighbors or someone. So likewise, when we understand who do we belong to, none of us actually will live in isolation. No. And joy is in reciprocation. Joy is in relationship. That is where we find our real joy actually. In a loving, caring relationship. So, where is the source of all of it? Who is the source of all of it? And it's Vedic literatures which scriptures help us understand, give us the message, that direct message that Krishna is existence. So everything is there. Nothing is missing. The holy name is there. Chant the holy names of Krishna on beads. Japa. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam is there. It's about Krishna. And they all complement each other. So books are there. Japa is there. Deities are there. Such kindness of Krishna to appear in deity form. And give us darshan and accept services, such kindness of Krishna. Deities are there, the holy places are there, Dham is still there, Dham still exists, and Krishna's eternal pastimes are still going on. So, and devotees are there. So there's still definitely there's hope, and there's still morality in the society. There's still scriptures and everything is there. And thing is, we have to look at the present moment. And make the best of it. Whatever is available there. And it's not like, oh, whatever is available. No, more than enough is available for us to get saturated. More than enough. Thing is just things related to Krishna or centered to Krishna. One should live one's life in relation to Krishna. Even better is one should live one's life keeping Krishna at the center. One should live one's life dedicated to Krishna, serving Krishna. And then we will find our real joy. Then we will find our real peace, motivation, enthusiasm. So everything is there and everything in very good quantity for everyone, all age group, whatever category say. Devotees been distributing books, doing all sorts of preaching engagements and all, and they've never come across any single person who actually can tell them that, oh, for such and such reason, I cannot practice Krishna consciousness. And devotees would say, oh yes, yeah, fair enough, we understand, yes. So you are not in a position, you are not fit, or you cannot, yeah, there is a problem actually. So there is a blockage or a hindrance. No, no one. No one. As Prabhupada says, even a child can actually sing, dance. So everyone actually can practice Krishna consciousness, and it is the joy of the heart, of one's heart. So one should try. One should give a bit of a good fair chance, good fair shot to oneself. And the principles more or less are same. Material life working, spiritual life working, principles are more or less the same. Going to school, college, uni, or whatever we do, we try to put in some faith and spend some time and assess and understand and see how is it leading me, where is it leading me, is it taking me from confusion to clarity, is it taking me from hopelessness to hope, is it taking me from dullness to motivated state, from ignorance to knowledge. Likewise, practicing Krishna consciousness also, one can check. In love, there is no force. Where there is pure love, there is no force. There's not like a compulsion. There's not like a pressure. This is why it is all voluntary. Krishna consciousness is all voluntarily. A bit of encouragement is certainly required. Inspiration, motivation is certainly required. Push is also certainly required. Gentle push or a push is certainly required. A bit of shake up or a bit of wake up is certainly required. But still, at the end of the day, it is out of one's own free will or one's own choice. So it is all to make us sane, it is all to help us grow. Uttama Shloka Namayat. So, beautiful name of Krishna actually, Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, it is only when we glorify Krishna then we will find a lot of joy. See, how much actually can we glorify again? Those who are in the top league of the society, say, those who are deemed as successful people. How much do we, at a personal level, know them as such? And how much do we glorify them? How much can we glorify them? And even if, say, we know them through media, and even if we glorify them, how much peace does it give us? How much peace? A thing has to be checked now. In whatever activity am I engaged, how much joy is it giving me and for how long? And the after effect always has to be checked, the after effect. What is the after effect? Is it sustainable? Everyone knows having some pints after effect of it. And if someone takes some charnamrit and all, then one can see what's the after effect. So the after effect has to be seen. We have to become intelligent. How much joy for how long? Is it binding me or is it liberating me? Is it making me actually free? Is it making me actually confident? Is it actually making me peaceful, calm? So life is actually full of distractions. Sajamil got distracted, or rather, he allowed himself to be distracted. If we see uh, two things, I got distracted or allowed myself to be distracted. Depends on one's awakened state, how much awakened we are, how much, say, one is enlightened, or how much one is in a spiritual journey energy, or depends on that one's and how much understanding have we have of Krishna, which comes from good hearing, good chanting, and good reading. The more and more we are in awareness of Krishna, the more and more we are in a relationship understanding, the more and more we experience the mm, joy in Krishna consciousness, the more and more we'll find ourselves a bit more enlightened, or a bit we won't be then getting pulled away by the material energy. Yeah, and constantly refining, reviving our vision, our goal, aim, aspiration in life, everything to take us on the way to Krishna, to take us on the direct way to Krishna, on the direct path to Krishna. Huh? So it would be like a direct journey, not like two stops in between or three stops in between, or in the sense, okay, going to heavenly planets or this, and then we go there. No, Krishna consciousness is too precious, too precious. Krishna is too sweet, is most sweet. Krishna is most charming, most beautiful. So when one's Krishna consciousness is ignited, one cannot afford to get sidetracked. One shouldn't afford to get any sidetracked. Okay, on this note, maybe I will take a pause. If there are any questions, comments, or additions, or clarifications, or corrections, please. Yes, bro.
Some people may feel that that's just a religious faith, and they may not see it as a scientific process. So how do you convince people that this is not just a sentimental religious um, movement, but rather it's a scientific process which is applicable to all people. You know, whether you go on here, there, or anywhere.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Very relevant, very contemporary. Generally, spiritual practitioners are seen as like a bit of less intelligence, and generally, maybe I'll try to adjust. But see, um, traditionally, actually, it is observed that practice of religion generally is out of fear, or put fear among the masses and let them, we can control them and have them practice religion, so that ways we can also control them and have some monopoly over them. And then people carry desires. So moving from fear, they would turn to desires and go to practicing some form of religion, putting faith to fulfill their desires, to get their desires fulfilled. So there is an element of fear. Oh, what if I do not do? What if I do not practice and all? Hmm? Like uh, coming from India, there's so much of demigod worship throughout India. Hmm? And if someone stops in between, someone doesn't attend some festival, conduct some festival of fasting and all, there's that a direct notion, oh, something wrong will happen to me, something wrong with it. But if someone skips an Ekadashi or and all, there's nothing like, okay, you will suffer now, you will be cursed now, like that. No. So one can check, one should see, is the motivation behind practice, is it out of fear, is it out of desire, is it out of duty, out of some selfless duty, or is it based out of love, out of pure love, and not sentimental. just not sentimental. Otherwise, it will be shallow, and it will reflect in the person's. It will reflect in the person's lifestyle, in his practice, in his purity. That will come about. So, how to make someone actually understand that Krishna consciousness is a science. It's not just a simple faith-based, say, practice. Okay, just put your faith and follow, and questions will be answered. Say. So when we read Srimad Bhagavad Gita, when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, there's nothing like, in the sense, sectarian. It's nothing like sectarian. Krishna says, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. Rather, each and every shloka in Bhagavad Gita, matra sparshas tu konteya, sitoshna sukha dukkada, agama painyo nitya, stam tistiksasva bharatam. So he says, like, um, um, as a child, he goes into boy, youth, old age, and all. So similarly, at the time of passing away, it leaves this body and takes another body. And an intelligent soul is not, embodied soul is not, wise soul person is not bewildered by such a change and all. So in which there is no question of, like, any sect-based country, or say university, or that based. Initial bit, like, faith is required everywhere, actually everywhere. Like, when we walk out of this temple room, say, when we'll walk out, we'll open the door, and we know we have this faith, okay, when we open the door won't fall off. So we should be able to walk free. So that faith is required right from the very beginning. We live on faith. Everyone lives on faith. We cannot. Shishikorantai Mayapur Sashiki. We cannot take the next step in life if we are not having faith. So it doesn't matter if someone is a spiritualist or not a spiritualist, say, faith is required everywhere. And how to harness that faith is in the company, in the association, in the company of people we keep. In that company, by having a good dialogue, by having a good open-minded dialogue, not going into a, say, meeting with a already conclusion in my head, with already with already going with this understanding, okay, no, this Krishna consciousness is just another religion or faith-based thing only. No, by having an open dialogue, good reasoning, and uh, engaging or associating with devotees. And then, how do we understand? When we actually pick up the book, read the book, when we actually apply the process in our life, this is how everything works. How to make a cake. Okay, so there is a recipe, right? Oven is there, it has to be preheated, heated, uh, this much sugar, this much baking powder, soda, this, that. And there's a proper process, there's a proper recipe, and you put it in, and then give time. Give time. It's not like, okay, we have put the everything in the oven, and then every 5 minutes we are checking, oh, is it rising? Is it rising? No. And then when we take out, we see, yeah, the cake is ready. The cake is there. So it's not, no one can actually materially prove or deny as well the existence of the soul or the existence of God for that matter. It's not like, at a gross level to prove or disprove. But if we, all of us carry faith, and when we understand the process, want to apply it in our life, and when we can see the effect of it, the after effect of it, and there's nothing to lose in Krishna consciousness. Nothing to, like Prabhupada was asked once by someone that, Swamiji, you are saying all this, but what if at the end of life we discover that there is no God actually? There's no afterlife actually. So Prabhupada said, well, even if someone discovers it, say it turns out to be true, what loss are we at? What have we to lose? What harm is there? We are still enjoying. We are still enjoying. We are chanting Hare Krishna and being happy. And imagine if it turns out that there is God, there's life after that. law of karma works, this reincarnation is true for real. It's a nature arrangement. Then what? Someone could be elevating his consciousness and getting eternal association of the Lordship. And someone through dry reasoning, just trying to prove someone wrong or find faults and all, and miss the train or miss the boat. Reasoning is good, but just dry reasoning or for the sake of reasoning or going with the notion that, okay, these are all just faith-based and this is not going to help, that is no good. On one's part, one should be genuine enough himself. And again, these like question by Adoksaja Prabhu, I don't feel any in an incapacity to actually answer. And it's not like an answer as well. It's just like a bit of a humble attempt on my part to express. I'm sure I would be missing out, and Prabhu is asking the question and he knows the answer as well. But this is his kindness on his part to help me grow in Krishna consciousness. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, I was thinking in the context of people being culturally alienated, because there was a couple of devotees that came yesterday, and they were saying that part of the problem with certain communities is they're so much into the rules and the regulations that they are highly discriminative of people that aren't following those rules and regulations. He was saying that the special days that these communities follow, and if on that day, if someone dies, then you fast and you do 10 for a program, and you don't do this, and you don't do the next thing. They have hundreds and hundreds of bodies, and because of these cultural things that are in there, that even though what they have is actually universal, because of their discrimination, they actually block the flow of that knowledge coming out, and they just disregard people and judge them and categorize them in particular boxes, and everything just stays the same. Then there's no communication, there's no evolution of consciousness, there's no transference of knowledge.
Yes. Yeah. There's a interesting expression in Hindi actually. I like it very much. It says like, Lakir ke fakir. It's an expression in Hindi, Lakir ke fakir. So yeah, in many say practice and all, people stuck up with just rules and regulations, and even those rules and regulations are shallow, quite shallow. They're very shallow within themselves. Rules and regulations are required, they have their place and all to help us become disciplined, to help us become grow. But as in the nectar of instructions, just for the sake of following rules and regulations or discarding all rules and regulations is not the thing. This is why the beauty of Krishna consciousness is, the beauty of Prabhupada's say vision, his faith, his purity, his commitment, his loyalty towards his spiritual master, and that faith, and that what? Right from the very beginning, when one practices, when one comes across devotees, one understands three things. That who am I? Who is Krishna? Why do I practice Krishna consciousness? For no other reason than to attain the love of Krishna, than to be in a loving, pure loving relationship with Krishna, than to revive, have that bond and connection. And with that vision and understanding, then rest everything comes about. Rest everything, rules and regulations and all comes about. But if I'm not having this understanding, who am I? Why ultimately am I doing this? And then it's just like so much of deviations. People are all after cheap, quick benefits, as in, we'll get a elevation to heavenly planet here, there, and all. It's very quick, cheap. In this life also, we'll have a physically comfortable life, and next life also physically comfortable life. That's it. And we take God as someone order supplier or some personality who can fulfill our demands and needs. So one has to understand the spirit of the law. Law is there, but if we do not understand the spirit of the law, it's exactly like Lakir ke Fakir in the sense, uh, uh, say, generally when we come to the temple, so the shoe rack is there and people, everyone open their shoes there, keep their shoes there. So say in festival time, we are expecting good number of devotees, audience, guests to come. So temple president says, okay, gives me this service that say when guests arrive, make sure that everyone keeps their shoe in the shoe rack. If it's on the floor, you put them up and keep it in the shoe rack, but make sure everyone keeps the shoe in the shoe rack. Okay. And now guests start arriving. And now, say a family, they came bare feet only, or they kept their shoe right in the car itself. Or a young boy. A young boy came and he was in his mother's lap. A young boy came in his mother's lap and he wasn't wearing shoe. Now, if someone tells him, no, where is your boy's shoe? Your young boy's shoe is missing. And the rule is that the shoe has to be kept in the shoe rack. Then only everyone can enter. So get the shoe, bring the shoe. No, we need the shoe. Otherwise, things do not work. So this is the thing, we limit ourselves. We limit ourselves with so many shallow rules and regulations. And in this day and age, Kali Yuga, life is too short, and we certainly have a long way to go. We certainly have a long way to go. So we must try to educate ourselves and see where we are, what are we up to, where we ought to be going. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was thinking Rupa Goswami refers to this over attachment to rules and regulations. Not so much over attachment, but to an inability to understand the purpose of the rules and regulations because of niyamagraha. So because a person doesn't understand that we're following all these cultural things, we're putting our shoes on the shoe rack, we're doing all these different things to encourage us to remember Krishna, and we're avoiding things that are going to just forget Krishna. So niyamagraha is you get so much into putting the shoes on the shoe rack that you forget Krishna. And the shoes are on the shoe rack, which is really, really good. But nobody remembers Krishna, nobody's forgotten Krishna. And because they've forgotten Krishna, then it means that actually, because he didn't understand why the rules and regulations were there, then he could whimsically reject all the rules and regulations as well. Because the deeper understanding, the foundational understanding, is that this is also achieve Krishna consciousness. And if it's not, then it's unfavorable and it's rejected. So, in that way, we can see how Srila Prabhupada was able to change so many rules and regulations to allow Krishna consciousness to spread, because if it wasn't favorable, then okay, boys and girls can go to the temple together, sannyasis can be marriages, this can take place, that can take place. We can approach people and sell them books, brahmacharis can approach women and sell them books, because it's favorable for spreading Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, Prabhupada was a complete visionary, transcendental visionary. Everything 50 years back, 50 plus years back. What a vision. So, what a faith in the holy name. And this cultural thing, the beauty of Krishna consciousness is Tane Sthite Shruti Gatam Tanu Vak Manobe. So, doesn't matter like everyone has to get a change of dress, change one's dress, or one has to actually come and live in Karuna Bhavan as such. No, wherever one is, chant Hare Krishna. Wherever one is, read books. So it's not like, okay, this is again a sort of an Indian thing and all. Well, reading books is universal. Chanting is also universal actually. Either we are constantly chanting throughout the day, or we are constantly chatting throughout the day. So that ways one can inspire oneself. One can see, one can check for oneself, reading books and doing a bit of japa, listening to tape, listening to some classes, and see, is it sense making or not? Is it relatable or not? Is it real or not? So many things we listen anyways. And nah, even if it's a cultural thing, say in that sense, it's good. It's good. It's bringing more diversity. It's bringing more diversity and more openness. So what's wrong in it? If something is good, why should it not be applied? Why should it not be adopted? Why should it not be taken up? Yes, bro.
Just recently had a lecture who he was saying in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada was prepared to serve meat and alcohol if he had to. There's some sort of conversation about it. He said, as long as we can get them to chant regularly, that is the main thing. Because once they start chanting Hare Krishna regularly, then we can introduce all the standards. But the first thing is just to encourage them to chant.
Yeah. Yeah, like also some other disciple of Prabhupada, he was asking, Prabhupada, you're sending me that place, there is no agriculture produce, there is nothing like vegetarian and all, what do I do and all. So Prabhupada says, well, if necessary, eat meat, but preach, preach. So we will go dead, when we stop preaching, when there is no preaching the Uttama Shloka Gunanuvarnane. Yeah. When the glories of the Uttama Shloka are not recited, chanted and spread and all, we go dead. So preaching is the backbone, preaching is the essence, and preaching is the energy. Preaching is the energy. So much of preaching will give us the blood, and then we have to pass on that. And consciousness is where our, say, heart is, where our attachment is. So uh, again, this word typical, the word typical in itself is very typical. It's a very typical word. And generally in society say, it could happen that, okay, I've become a typical spiritual practitioner, typical devotee in the sense, or typical faith practitioner. And it is commonly seen, not just worldwide, everywhere, worldwide. Going to a place of worship on a Sunday or a Monday or a Friday, going to a place of worship, doing my things and all. And then once out of the place of worship, where is my heart? Netflix, YouTube, BBC, here, there. Then where is my desires, my motivation? So everything we becoming typical. But in Krishna consciousness, uh, it's a wholesome journey, and we'll find so much of inspiration. And there are practitioners there who are not at all typical, and they are so much growing in their consciousness, elevating in their consciousness. Just like many open the door and enter the temple room and take darshan of the deities. But not everyone take darshan with the same. Eyes are the same, but the vision, the consciousness is very different. Consciousness is very different. So how do we protect our consciousness? How do we harness our consciousness is the thing. And the practice of Krishna consciousness again is so wholesome. It will give us every opportunity to protect, harness and grow in our consciousness towards attaining the love of Krishna. Otherwise, if we become typical, it's a huge blockage. It's a big blockage. That, okay, I've been these many years in Krishna consciousness. I know now these many things. I know these processes and everything. And it's a huge blockage. And actually, if one takes good association, one wouldn't stay, wouldn't stay actually a typical. Likewise, in this case of Ajamil as well, he got typically sidetracked. But had he taken some good association, had he revealed his mind, had he, from day one, had he protected his Sambandha Gyan, Like he protected his Sambandha Gyan. Who am I? Who is Krishna? What is my relationship with Krishna? Huh? That prostitute I'm after, she belongs actually to Krishna. If that vision is ignited, if that vision is there, then we wouldn't get sidetracked. Krishna will appreciate that, yes, he knows the subject matter not in theory, not just in theory, in practice, in practical. This is why theory or dry reasoning does not help. A dialogue has to be there, and it is better when a dialogue is open and with a mood to actually understand. Prabhupada was so open to, yes, Prabhupada is mentioning, so open to changes and all. Like in one meeting with Prabhupada's disciples were wanting a meeting, and Prabhupada was also in the room. So one of the disciples said, like, Prabhupada, we are going to have a meeting now in order to how to arrange our classes or festival and programs and all. So, everyone was like taking notes and sharing and all. And Prabhupada was also there, like, okay, yes, let me see if I also can contribute or I can take something. Or so he was very much open actually to learn, to learn from his disciples or give. So everything he gave, like taught by his example and his humility. And that same legacy has to be carried on, has to be carried on. Then it's a parampara. That is being what genuine is. So, understanding Bhagavad Gita as it is, taking the message as it is, and applying it as it is, passing it on as it is. Okay, any final thoughts or comments or questions? Or
There's a comment from Padmanabhan. Thank you for such a helpful class today. This ongoing awareness is always a work in progress and so easy to become distracted.
the most simplest, the most easiest thing, maybe if I take this opportunity to get some thought, what do you say, what do you think is the most simplest, the most easiest thing for us in general in life? If any thought?
To fall asleep.
To fall asleep. The most simplest, the most easiest kind of natural thing is to forget Krishna. It's personally speaking, it's so easy even while chanting japa, in where surrounded by devotees and all, taking Krishna's name but forgetting Krishna. And what to speak of outside of that japa. So the most easiest, the most simplest thing is actually for in a conditioned state to forget Krishna. And this is why association of devotees and listening and reading, hearing, chanting is so crucial. That breathing is a natural activity. Likewise, Krishna consciousness also then should become actually a natural activity. Yes, Prabhu.
Also,
Thank you very much for your kind listening. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम महापुराण की, शिला प्रभुपाद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी. If you just end the podcast, that should be fine.